A season of saying goodbye to the Met, capped by the final game, going for the 100th Met win, a chance to save the season in a final moment of glory. In total, a season full of memories. In the preseason, the Vikings' play did not raise many hopes, but there were some bright spots. The new-look 3-4 defense seemed able to address a long-standing Viking problem, defense against the run. At quarterback, Steve Dills looked like the replacement for Tommy Kramer. The defense had some big play potential. The team overall showed that it did have heart, and that a game would not be over until the clock ran out. The preseason game was at home on a Saturday night at the Met against the Miami Dolphins. And the final score showed the Dolphins 20 and the Vikings 6. Overall, the offense was very feeble, especially on the ground. It totaled just 48 yards in 22 attempts. The Vikings' scores came on field goals, one by Rick Nanmeyer of 23 yards and another by Vince Wagner of 21. The second preseason test saw the Vikings journey to Washington, D.C.'s RFK Stadium. It was on a Friday night. The final score, the Redskins 27, the Vikings 13. Once again, it was the Viking running attack that was very disappointing. 39 yards in 20 attempts. The Vikings' only touchdown came in the second quarter. The Redskins were leading at the time by a score of 7-0. It was second down and 15 at the Vikings' 26-yard line. Dills back to pass. Steps up in the pocket, throws, and it is complete for a first down, and breaking the tackles. This might go all the way. Sammy White, he broke a tackle with the Redskin 40 and goes all the way. The Vikings' final scores came on newcomer Vince Wagner's 2 field goals, one of 50 yards and another of 30. The third preseason game was on a Saturday night at the Met. The Atlanta Falcons came to town. The Vikings managed to eke out a 20-19 victory. The Vikes unveiled for the first time their 3-4 defense. It held Atlanta to just 93 yards running, in fact, only 24 yards in the first half. Highlights of the Viking defensive efforts saw 5 sacks compiled by Mullaney, White, and Martin. In the first quarter, there was no score in the game. The Vikings had the ball second and goal at the Atlanta 6-yard line. Kramer back as if the pass gives to Teddy Brown, and he has nothing at all up the middle, but he breaks a tackle and gets down close to the goal line. Touchdown! A great run by Teddy Brown. Super run. In the third quarter, Atlanta was leading the Vikings by a score of 9-7. The Vikes had the ball second down 5 at the Atlanta 24. Kramer drops back to pass. Throws, and it is caught by Rashad at the 11, breaks a tackle, 10, 5, touchdown! In the third quarter, with the Vikes clinging to a 4-point lead at 13-9, Atlanta had the ball, and Jones was now the quarterback. Jones back to pass. Has time. No, his ball is batted in the air. It's caught by Doug Martin. He's at the 35. He's going to score. He's going to score a touchdown. Doug Martin. And so, after back-to-back losses to Miami and Washington, the Vikings record their first victory, 20-19, before the home folks. The final preseason game came on a Thursday night, August 27th, at Anaheim Stadium against the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams prevailed over the Vikings by a score of 34-31. But if ever a game gave evidence that the Vikings of 1981 would not give up, this game definitely proved it. The defense also came up with big plays, including, in the second quarter, the Rams had the ball third down and 3 at the Viking 4-yard line. Hayden is back to pass. He has time. Throws to the right corner, and it's intercepted. Matt Blair, he's at the 10, the 15, the 20, the 30, the 40. He's at the 50. He's at the Ram 40. He's at the 30. He's at the 20. He's going to go all the way about 99 yards.
Ray, give credit to Tommy Hannon for an excellent block downfield.
And the final gasp by the Vikings would see Dills completing a pass on 4th and 10, but for just 7 yards. It was a portent of things to come. The Vikings would not give up. And so the preseason ended with a record of 1 win and 3 losses, with a 34-31 victory by the Los Angeles Rams. Following the 1-3 preseason record, the Vikings journey to Tampa, Florida to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Tampa Stadium. Tommy Kramer would not play because of that sprained knee suffered in the Los Angeles game. John Turner was out with a broken leg. On Tampa Bay's second possession of the game, strong-arm quarterback Doug Williams threw a 45-yard scoring pass to Kevin House. The Buccaneers led 7-0, and as it turned out, that was the only score in the first half. In the second half, on the Vikings' first series, Rick Danmeyer was called upon when the drive stalled with quarterback Steve Dills as the engineer, and the Buccaneers' lead was cut as Danmeyer hit from 45 yards. It was 7-3 Tampa Bay. The Vikes held the Bucs, marched 75 yards. Again, the drive stalled. Again, it was Danmeyer time, and Rick responded with a 25-yard field goal, and the Buccaneers' lead was down to just 1 point at 7-6. The Buccaneers came up with another touchdown when quarterback Doug Williams capped an 8-play, 76-yard drive with a 10-yard touchdown run out of the pocket. The Buccaneers led the Vikings by 14-6. And then Steve Dills got the Vikings untracked. Result, a 14-play, 72-yard drive capped off by a 4-yard touchdown pass to tight end Joe Sensor. Buccaneers 14, Vikings 13. The Viking defense held Tampa Bay on the next series, and the Vikes took over at their own 28 with just 1 minute and 38 seconds remaining. But defensive back Neil Colsey, a veteran, intercepted a sideline pass thrown by Dills, ran it back 82 yards for a touchdown that clinched the victory. And the Buccaneers had scored a win in the opening game of the season. Tampa Bay 21, the Vikings 13. Steve Dills came up with 361 yards on 37 of 62 attempts, 1 touchdown, and just that 1 deadly interception. Game 2 saw an invasion of the Met on a Monday night by the Oakland Raiders. In the second quarter, the home crowd looking on saw the score read Oakland 16, Vikings nothing, when Oakland kicked off. Barr ready now to kick from the Oakland 30. Here's his kick. It's a good one. It's going to drive Peyton back to the goal line. Up the middle. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. He's at the 50. He's at the 45. He's at the 30. He's going to go all the way. 100 yards. Eddie Peyton. And so at halftime, Oakland led by a score of 16-7. The Vikings started to move on their first possession of the second half, but the drive stalled. Danmeyer will try to put 3 points on the board. About a 37-yard attempt. The ball is down, the kick is up, and the kick is good. It just got over the crossbar. From that point forward, it was all downhill. 36-10. And Oakland had its first victory of the season, and the Vikings were 0-2. Going into Game 3, the Vikings were 0-2. The Detroit Lions had won 1 and lost 1. Tommy Kramer back in action. The Vikings started. Teddy Brown on a draw for 34, a pass to LeCount from Kramer for 43, and the drive was finished with a run by Teddy Brown, and the Vikings led by 7-0. The Vikings scored again when Kramer hit Sensor with a 4-yard touchdown pass. It was 14-0 Vikings. On the next series, Billy Sims scored on a 2-yard run, and the margin was narrowed. It was Vikings 14 and Detroit 7. The Lions got the ball once again with less than 5 minutes to play in the first half and marched 77 yards in just 5 plays. Vikings 14, Lions 14. The Vikings got the ball back on their own 21-yard line with just 1 minute and 8 seconds left to play in the first half. Tommy Kramer and company went to work using the clock to perfection. With a 2nd and 10 at the Lions' 35-yard line, this is what happened. Back goes Tommy Kramer. Throws off to the right. It is complete to Rashad, and he steps out of bounds at the 22-yard line. 1 second left. Now there, my friends, is precision by a truly great veteran. Now, it's Rick Danmeyer time with just that 1 second left in the half. The snap, the ball is down, the kick is up, and it is good. The Vikes regain the lead. And so the half ended with the score, Vikings 17, Lions 14. In the second half, after gaining 2 first downs, Kramer back to pass, circling to his right. Throws back, and it is caught by Brown. The 40, the 30, he's going to go all the way. He's at the 10, the 5, touchdown. The touchdown drive covered 5 plays and 98 yards. The Vikings led 23-14. The extra point attempt was blocked by Detroit. The Lions got the ball at the Viking 12, and in just 5 plays, Gary Danielson went into the end zone for a touchdown, and the Vikings' lead was cut to 2 points at 23-21. On the next possession by Detroit, Murray kicked a 25-yard field goal, and Detroit led by 24-23. The Vikings gained possession with 1 minute and 56 seconds left.
Back goes Kramer to pass. It's time. Throws complete to Brown, the 30, the 35, to his right to the 40. Almost got away from that man at the 43-yard line. It's a first down. He drops back to pass. Being rushed. Throws, and it is caught by Sammy White out of bounds at the Lion 39-yard line. Back goes Kramer. Whistles the ball. Complete. 25-yard line. Sammy White. Another first down. Kramer drops back. Throws. It is complete to Sensor. He comes out of bounds inside the 20 at the 18-yard line. 7. Kramer gives to Brown. Right side. Big hole to the 10. Breaks a tackle to the 5-yard line. Great call.
With 7 seconds left in the game, it's Dan Meyer time again.
Dan Meyer is ready. Snap. The ball is down. The kick is up. The kick is good. The Vikings take the lead.
The Vikings record their first win of the season by a score of 26-24. Tommy Kramer, in coming back to action after that injury, had a sensational day. 25 of 42 completions, 333 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Teddy Brown was the leading rusher, 18 carries, 77 yards, 1 touchdown. Also the leading receiver, 9 receptions for 115 yards. Punter Greg Coleman averaged on 7 punts 50.3 yards. And listen to this performance by Coleman.
Long count. Now the snap. Now the punt. Oh, it's a beauty. Martin inside the 30, inside the 25, inside the 20, bounce at the 15. It's going to bounce back inside the 10. It's going to be back around the 5, and down by Terry LeCount at the 4. What a punt by Coleman.
In addition, Coleman had 2 more kicks out of bounds inside the 20. In Game 4, the Vikings invade Milwaukee's County Stadium to take on the Green Bay Packers. Both teams have won once and lost twice. The Packers got off to a quick 10-0 lead, a 6-yard touchdown pass from Dickey to Lofton, and a 24-yard field goal by the veteran Jan Stenerud. The Vikes moved into position for a 34-yard field goal by Dan Meyer. The score was 10-3. The Vikings then came back to tie it. Green Bay had possession at the Viking 49-yard line.
Whitehurst drops back to pass. He has time. Oh, he was hit. Is it a fumble? Holloway has it. If it's a fumble, this is a touchdown.
With the score tied at 10, Rick Danmeyer gave the Vikings a 13-10 lead with a 30-yard field goal. The Vikes got the ball back with just 3:37 left to play in the half. And now it's time for Kramer.
This time it is Kramer back to throw a pass, and he throws to the left. It is caught. Brewer has a touchdown. Brewer hesitated.
At halftime, the Vikings lead 20-10. The Vikings kicked off to start the second half. A big hit by Randy Holloway, and the ball is loose, and Terry LeCount recovers at the Green Bay 28-yard line. The Vikings are faced with a 2nd and goal at the Green Bay 7.
Opening minute of the second half. Kramer back to pass, throws to the left, and a big collision as Rashad grabs the pass, goes into the end zone.
The Vikings lead is now 27-10. Lynn Dickey got the Packers within Stenerud field goal range, and the Vikings lead was cut to 27-13. Rick Danmeyer upped the lead to 30-13 on a 25-yard field goal. 6.5 minutes, the Vikings controlled the ball on the first possession of the final quarter. After failing to convert on 4th down, the Packers had to turn the ball over to the Vikings at the Viking 18. Now the Viking offense held the ball for 9 more plays, including 3 first downs, and ran out the game's last 6 minutes. The Viking defense came up with an outstanding effort. 8 sacks of the quarterback, 1 block punt, 2 fumbles recovered. Teddy Brown on the ground carried 21 times and had a total of 109 yards. The final score, Vikings 30, the Packers 13. Game number 5 finds the Chicago Bears invading the Met. The Vikes stand at 2-2. The Bears have won just once and have lost 3. The Vikings move 69 yards in just 8 plays. 4th and 1 on the Chicago 8. The Vikings have the ball.
Off to the right, Teddy Brown. He's around the corner. He's at the 5. Touchdown.
After Dan Meyer's extra point, The Vikings lead by a score of 7-0. On the next possession, the Viking drive stalled, and again it was time to call on Rick Danmeyer. A 43-yard field goal the result, and the Vikings lead by 10-0. And with 3 minutes left to go in the half, the Bears have the ball.
Back to pass Evans, back to the 15, looks right, throws right, and it is intercepted. The Vikings have it, and Tommy Hannon, he's run out of bounds around inside the Bear 20-yard line.
On the play following that interception, 1st and 10 at the Bear 15-yard line.
Kramer with a long count, might be making a change. Drops back to pass, throws for the corner of the end zone, and it is hot for a touchdown. Rashad, one-on-one with the rookie.
The Vikings lead now is 17-0. Chicago Bear quarterback Vince Evans hits wide receiver Brian Baschnagel with a 16-yard touchdown pass, and at halftime intermission, Vikings 17, the Bears 7. With 6 minutes gone in the third quarter, Evans went up the middle for a 4-yard touchdown run. Now the score narrows. Vikings 17, Bears 14. But the Vikings come right back. It's 2nd and 10 on the Chicago Bear 11-yard line.
Kramer drops back to pass. Here comes a blitz. Touchdown. Joe Sensor. Tommy Kramer read the blitz, hit Sensor, touchdown. Beautiful call and execution by Tommy Kramer.
The Vikings lead by 24-14. Early in the fourth quarter, Evans hits wide receiver Brian Baschnagel again, this time a 7-yard touchdown pass. The Vikings lead is down to 3 points at 24-21. With just 1 minute and 24 seconds left to play in the game, quarterback Vince Evans moved the Bears from their own 13 to the Viking 9-yard line. With no timeouts remaining, Evans throws the ball out of bounds. The officials ruled too many men on the field, not just for the Bears, but for both teams. And so, indeed, the clock was stopped.
Baschnagel will hold. Nielsen will attempt to tie this game with a 27-yard field goal with 1 second left. The snap, the ball is down, the kick is up, the kick is not good. He missed it to the left, and the Vikings win in one of the most bizarre finishes I have ever seen in any football game.
And so the Vikings move over the 500 mark. On the ground, 97 yards by Ted Brown on 24 carries. Nord had 12 unassisted tackles in an outstanding effort. The Vikes are now 3-2. Game number 6 finds the Vikings visiting San Diego's Jack Murphy Stadium. The Vikings are tied for the lead in the Central Division with 3 wins and 2 losses, tied with Tampa Bay. The Chargers, meanwhile, are tied for first place with Denver in the AFC West. The teams jockey for field position until Johnson intercepts a Kramer pass and returned it to the Viking 2-yard line. Just 2 plays later, Chuck Muncy goes into the end zone. The Chargers lead 7-0. Now it's the Vikings' turn. With a 3rd and 10 at the San Diego 15.
Kramer ready for the snap. Drops back to pass, circling to his left. He throws to the right. It's to Ricky Young. He's all the way back at the 20, trying to dodge around defenders. He's at the 10. He's at the 5. Touchdown! What a run by Ricky Young!
The score is tied at 7. The Chargers, 3 downs and a punt. And now it's the Vikings with the football. And with 2nd and goal at the San Diego 4.
Back is Kramer to pass. Being rushed, throws. Teddy Brown walks in for the touchdown.
It is 14-7 Minnesota. San Diego tied the game at 14 on a 60-yard pass to Scales. In the third quarter, Rolf Benerschke is called upon. Result, a 39-yard field goal. The Chargers lead 17-14. Now it's the Vikings. 92 yards in 7 plays, with the Chargers leading 17-14, 1st and 10 at the San Diego 26.
3 wide receivers, 1 setback Brown. Kramer drops back, throws the ball, it's caught. I don't know whether there was no reaction by the defense or whether it's a touchdown or not. I think it is to Terry LeCount.
No one covered Terry LeCount.
The score is 21-17. Fouts comes back with a 38-yard touchdown bomb to Charlie Joyner. The Chargers have the lead again. On the first play after the kickoff, it is 1st and 10 Vikings at their own 26-yard line.
Back goes Kramer on first down to pass. He has time. He throw wide open. Teddy Brown, 45, 50. San Diego 40, cuts to his left to the 30. He's at the 20, the 15, the 10-yard line.
The Vikes have to settle for a field goal. The score is tied, 24-24. The Chargers come back. A 15-play drive is climaxed by a Chuck Muncy touchdown run. Chargers lead 31-24. The Vikings' next drive comes to a halt. San Diego has possession, marches from their own 32 to the Viking 30. Chuck Muncy fumbled and Scott Studwell recovered at the Vikings 28. Just 2 minutes and 26 seconds are left in the game. The Vikings move 72 yards in 4 plays. It is now 2nd and 15 at the Charger 43.
Brown moves over to his left. Kramer drops back to pass. Has good protection. He's going deep for the end zone for LeCount, and he has it for a touchdown!
The extra point was missed. The Chargers lead by 31-30. 1 minute and 51 seconds left.
Danmark comes to the ball. Short kick. It gets the necessary 10 yards. It is loose, and the Vikings have it. Terry LeCount has it.
Kramer goes to the air, 18 yards to Terry LeCount. And now with just 4 seconds left, it's Danmeyer time.
Nord will be holding at the 28-yard line for a 38-yard attempt. Snap, the ball is down, the kick is up, and it is good. The Vikings win at the gun in one of the more improbable, exciting finishes you'll ever want to see.
The final score, Vikings 33, the Chargers 31. Tommy Kramer had a truly sensational game. Kramer completed 4 touchdown passes. His total passing yardage was 444 on a 27 for 43 completion record. It was a complete team victory as the Vikings record moves to 4 wins and 2 losses, and it's the 4th consecutive victory. Game number 7. The Philadelphia Eagles come to the Met. Philadelphia undefeated. The Vikings still tied for the lead with Tampa Bay. 4 wins, 2 losses. The Vikings won the toss, but the Eagles scored first on their second possession. Montgomery went the final one. Blair blocked the extra point, but the Eagles lead the Vikings by 6-0. On the next Viking possession, the Vikes moved 80 yards in 9 plays. The Vikes stand 3rd and 2 at the Eagle 11.
Kramer back to pass. Waiting. Throwing, he throws. Touchdown! Sensor!
A key play in that touchdown drive. Kramer to Ted Brown for 38 yards. The Vikings lead the Eagles 7-6. After an exchange of punts, Philadelphia's barefooted kicker, Franklin, kicks a 30-yard field goal. The Eagles lead 9-7. But Kramer and company come right back. It's 3rd and 5 at the 50.
3 wide receivers. Sensor in the backfield on the right side. Let's see if he comes in motion. He does not. Kramer back to pass. He is going deep for Sammy White. He has it. 15, 10, 5. Touchdown!
The Vikings lead Philadelphia by 14-9. The Vikings take over again at their own 33. Just 1 minute and 2 seconds left to play in the first half. And with the Vikings leading 14-9, it is 2nd and 1 at the Eagle 41.
Pass out to the right. Oh, almost picked off. And it was caught in the air by Sensor, and he goes down the right sideline. It was batted by Blackmore. Sensor alertly grabbed it, went all the way down the sidelines to the Philadelphia 11-yard line.
The play covered 31 yards. 4 seconds left. The Vikings stand 3rd and goal at the Eagle 1.
Kramer under center, drops back to pass. He's throwing, and it is touchdown, Brewer.
Vikings 21, Philadelphia 9. The third quarter gets underway with the teams exchanging punts. The Vikes have the football and move to the Eagle 5 in 7 plays. With the Vikings on top 21-9, Viking possession, 2nd and goal at the Eagle 5.
Kramer moves Brown 2 steps to the right. Drops back to pass. Throws a fade for the end zone for Rashad. Touchdown!
The score mounts to Vikings 28, the Eagles 9. On their next possession, however, the Eagles score on a 25-yard touchdown pass to Montgomery. Vikings 28, Eagles 16. The Vikings hold the ball for 4 minutes, punt to the Eagles. Jaworski is intercepted, and 4 plays later, it's 1st and goal at the Eagle 1 for the Vikings.
High formation, Brown deep. Brown has it, and he dives for the touchdown. Teddy Brown.
The Vikings lead mounts to 35-16. Philadelphia came back. A 21-yard touchdown pass from Ron Jaworski to Harold Carmichael. The lead is now 35-23. Philadelphia marches to the Viking 22. Holloway sacks Jaworski, however, for a 17-yard loss on the final play of the game.
Jaworski being chased. Down he goes. Loose football. Holloway
Dex Jaworski.
Kramer had another productive day. 257 yards on 24 of 46. 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Brown ran for 92 yards on 22 carries, caught 10 passes for 82. Matt Blair had an outstanding effort. 14 unassisted tackles, a pass interception, a fumble recovery, a block conversion, and 5 assisted tackles. Game number 8 finds the Vikings visiting Bush Memorial Stadium in St. Louis. The Vikings are riding high. First in the NFC Central, 5 consecutive wins and a 5-2 record. The Cardinals, meanwhile, are stumbling. Just 2 victories and 5 defeats. The Vikings won the toss, but started off poorly. And a 49-yard punt return by the Cardinals' Mitchell, and Neil O'Donoghue responds. A 3-0 field goal lead. A fumble by Sensor after a fine reception gives the Cardinals the ball at the Vikings' 37. Hart proceeds to hit Pat Tilley for a 37-yard touchdown pass on the next play, and the Cardinals lead 10-0. The Vikings are forced to punt. Neil O'Donoghue comes in again, kicks a 23-yard field goal. The Cardinals lead 13-0, and the Vikings are stunned. In the second quarter, the Vikings move deep into Cardinal territory, but have to settle for a 36-yard Dan Meyer field goal, but they're on the board. Cardinals 13, the Vikings 3. Matt Blair steps in and sacks Jim Hart on the Cardinals' first possession of the second half, and that forced the Cardinals to punt. The Vikes move 63 yards in 11 plays. And with a 2nd and 14 at the Cardinal 15, Cardinals leading 13-3, the Vikings have the football.
To the right, Rashad. To the left, Sammy White. It looks like they're one-on-one with those 2 cornerbacks. Back is Kramer to pass. Looking left, throwing toward the end zone. Touchdown, Sammy White.
In that drive, it's vintage Kramer as he completes 6 of 8. Cardinals 13, Vikings 10. Kurt Knopf intercepts Hart on the next series of plays. On a 4th and 1, the Vikings decide to fake a punt. The Vikings retain possession illegally, and so the Cardinals get the ball at the Viking 36. Just 5 plays later, Morris runs 13 yards around left end for a touchdown, and the Cardinals up their lead to 20-10. Next possession by St. Louis, they go 65 yards in 16 plays and scored on an 8-yard touchdown pass from the veteran Jim Hart to the veteran Mel Gray. Cardinals 27, Vikings 10. But the Vikings come back. It is 2nd and 10 for Minnesota at the Cardinal 22-yard line.
Back goes Kramer to pass. He's throwing for Sammy White in the end zone, and he has it.
Cardinals 27, Vikings 17. The Vikes try an onside kick. It fails. 5 plays later, O'Donoghue kicks a 46-yard field goal, and the Cardinals preserve a 30-17 victory.